Hello, it's me, Sid the Plant Doc, back for another planty video. Today I'm going to be doing a tour of my favorite genus of house plants, Anthurium. Now, I have way more Hoyas and way more philodendrons than I have Anthurium, but that's not by choice. It's because Anthuriums are super expensive because they're super tropical and most nurseries don't come by them. So most of the ones that I have, I'd say, were from local growers, from a Facebook group, or even some of them have been plant mail from various online stores or Etsy sellers. So I'm gonna try to keep this video a little bit shorter than my Hoya tour, and hopefully it will be, because there are half as many plants. I think I counted 18 Anthurium, and I have 50 some Hoyas. So how I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna rank the Anthuriums from my least favorite to most favorite, and really my least favorite will be just ones that have been shittier growers in my expertise, in my experience. So first I'm gonna start with two that I just got last weekend, so I feel like it's a little unfair to rank them because I've not grown them, even though I love how they look. So let's get started. So first one we're gonna start with is this Anthurium Regulosum, really tall stem, long boy, that I got last weekend. Last weekend was Ecuagenera plant pop-up in Lincoln, Nebraska, and so there was a ton of Anthuriums, and this one I just think is so cool with the texture. Here's the other leaf. It doesn't look as good. Ooh, look how shiny. This one got really floppy when I brought it home last week, and so I soaked the roots in water because they were just in moss. I soaked them in water a little bit and then I potted them up, and look at that, it's doing great. It's back to its normal strength. So that is honorable mention in the ranked list because I haven't got a chance to see how it grows, even though I love this texture. Second one that I got from the Ecuagenera pop-up is this beautiful plant. This is Anthurium, oh gosh, some jungle luxury or luxury jungle or something. It is a cross between Luxurians and okay, so it's Anthurium Luxurians and Anthurium Negrolaminum GG. So it's very shiny, very dark, has this very kind of deep sinus here, which I think is amazing. I just potted this one up as well. So this one will probably, let's see, you can see me looking over there a little bit. It's because I am using my iPad and a mirror to film this and making sure that the leaves are showing up on camera. But this one will probably move up my ranking because I love the dark sheen to it. So those are my two that I bought last weekend from Ecuagenera pop-up. If you don't know who or what that is, it's a aroid orchid seller from Ecuador. So they actually had a representative from the shop, from the store, the seller, in Lincoln, Nebraska, which is only an hour away from where I live. So you bet I went and got some pretty aroids. My friend also got a bunch of orchids. I got one orchid. That was very cool. Okay, so starting with the plants that I've actually taken the time to rank is my Anthurium Radiatum. And the reason why I ranked this one last isn't due to this leaf, because obviously, wow, amazing. Look at that. So many fingers. It's because of these leaves. When I ranked these originally, these leaves were the only leaves it had, coming out like super misshapen and crispy. And then out of the blue, this. I think the difference was I moved it to higher humidity, and I thought that for some reason, because it wasn't like a velvety type anthurium, it wouldn't need the high humidity, but it liked it. It enjoyed that thoroughly. So lesson learned, even though it's not a velvety one, it still likes its humidity. But this is Anthurium radiatum, or Anthurium fingers. Next on the list is this. This is a hybrid, I think, Forgetty Eye, Crystallineum, and Papillonimum. I'll just call it Pap from now on because I don't know if I'm pronouncing the Papillonimum correctly. So I ranked this one kind of low because it didn't really look that special. Like, it kind of just had these leaves that looked, I don't know, like not super crazy. And it doesn't grow like the best, and it had spider mites a few times. But this most recent leaf, you can see the sinus is starting to close here at the top. The sinus is this part up here. It's starting to close more like a Forgetty Eye, starting to be more round, which is super cute. I got this one from a guy on Facebook in one of my plant groups. His name is Randy, and you're gonna see how much business I give Randy in this video, because a lot of my anthuriums are from Randy. So shout out to Randy if you're watching. This is one of the first anthuriums I ever bought from Randy. Is this one right here. Because it's a hybrid, it's super easy and doesn't really need a lot from me. But I'm super excited to see it start to mature, especially now that this leaf is starting to look like kind of unique. So is this one with the closed sinus. So my first hybrid. Next is my Forgetty Eye. So this leaf right here is like one of the most perfect anthurium leaves in my collection. I love like how dark it is, and just like the round is so amazing. This leaf is pretty good too. It just hangs a little low for some reason. Also, it just put out this like leaf that was like torn. I think I let it get too dry. It's in a really chunky mix. But yeah, this is my Forgetty Eye. I ranked this guy so low, even though it's so beautiful, because all it does is put out inflorescence. And if you don't know what an inflorescence is, there's not one on here right now, but it's like the flower of an anthurium. It just kind of looks like a finger that kind of sticks up. And I've tried crossing it with a few things, but I really only have gotten inflorescences on this and my Clara Nervium, and I was told that Clara Nervium is kind of like its own beast. It's in its own like family almost of anthuriums, so it doesn't really cross well. So yeah, what is this? Technically Anthurium number 5, my Forgetty Eye. So pretty. Next on the list, number 7, is this massive, crazy, I've had to lean back so far to get it all in the picture, but this is my Crystallineum, and this is my first ever anthurium. I got it from one of my friends as a rehab, and I'm gonna put a picture up. I always say that I'm gonna put a picture up, but I'm so lazy when it comes to like editing the videos that I never put a picture up. So I'm gonna put a picture up of what it looked like when I got it, because it's the hugest glow up, and that's why she gets ranked so highly on this list. I'm so glad that I started with this anthurium, because if I would have started with a harder anthurium, I would have maybe given up. But look at this. It has a ton of leaves. It has a ton of growth points. You know, I'd rank it higher if it didn't grow so like bushy like this, because it's so hard to find a place in my home for it to live. But yeah, if you are starting out with anthuriums, this is the girl to start with, a Crystallineum, because she's so easy. She doesn't even really need that high of humidity. If she's not doing, like, when I rehabbed it, I started it off in really high humidity and that got it going, but now it lives in my like ambient room humidity, which right now is kind of sucky, like 40%, and it really doesn't mind it. Like I feel like it could put out bigger leaves if I was better about watering and keeping it in big high humidity, but yeah, it is so easy. This is a great one to start with. Like the veins are so perfect and beautiful. It makes it so easy to be cross with stuff and get these beautiful veins. So get yourself a Crystallineum. Now this is also like not an expensive one, so if you're trying to get into it and don't know if you're gonna be good at it or you're gonna be able to keep any of like anthuriums alive, this is a good one to start with, this Crystallineum. Why did I do that? Okay, who's next? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so number 7 is Mr. King of Spades. This thing is so tiny. I got this guy off of Facebook, not from Randy, but from another guy on Facebook. Let's see if I can get better. See it? Ooh, there we go. And he's just a little baby, and I've not had it for that long, so, and it's obviously very tiny, so I can't rank it very high on my list just yet, but I should try to put a picture up of what it's going to look like. So this is a true King of Spades by Hugh, like the guy that originally made these, grew these, and the leaves get super round. Like they're known for being super round and super dark. Like this one does not need very much light. Like compared to these leaves, which were definitely in some higher light, like this leaf is done hardening. Like this is a stark, like this is what they're supposed to look like, is this dark, and they'll, as it gets bigger, I think it'll get like more veination. That's a new baby. Look, oh, that's a new little baby. So that's number 7, my King of Spades. Okay, number 8 is Luxurians. This also came from Randy, and when I was thinking about it, the Crystallineum that I got from my friend had originally came from Randy. So 3 plants from Randy technically right now, but I would rank my Luxurians so much higher if for some reason it didn't get absolutely obliterated by spider mites when I first got it. Like this leaf is super yellow from that. Oh, this leaf is goodbye. And it's been a kind of a slow girly. It's in like the same conditions as all my other anthuriums, and it's just been really slow. It's got, let's see, a new leaf coming now, but oh, so shiny. Oh, so beautiful. This is the parent plant to a ton of hybrids because people love this like shiny, all like ribbed bullate is what I think the term, the super bullate texture, and I love it. I can't wait to get like big leaves of this. I think also part of my problem is I was giving it a little bit too much light. It is a darker leaf, which means it doesn't need as much light, and I think I was giving it quite a bit of light, and that might be why the leaves are a little yellow, a little bleached maybe, but yeah. Number 8, Anthurium Regulosum. Okay, number 9, I'm jumping a little out of order of my original ranking, but a lot of the plants have given me new leaves since the original ranking. I did that like a week ago or so, and so some of my ranking is not correct anymore. But so this would be number 9, my Doriaki. So I got this plant from Etsy. It was packaged a little poorly. It seemed like they had just taken out a 4-inch plant and plopped it in a 6-inch pot, because that's what I bought, was a 6-inch plant. But then the seller messaged me and was like, hey, like I'm out of this Doriaki, but I have like a silver Crystallineum Doriaki. I don't know what the difference was he was trying to tell me, but he's like, they're the same, it's just like this one's gonna be more silver, blah, blah, blah. So when it got to me, it was all beat up, and the roots had been like uncovered basically. And so I basically had to rehab it, and anthuriums do really well in rehabbing. You probably, I can't even tell if you can see. This leaf is yellowed a little bit. This is the first leaf it gave me in my care, and it is yellowing a little bit. I might need to water it more frequently. Might be drying out a little bit. But I just love the silver. I think it's one of the, Doriaki might be its own thing, or else it's kind of a sibling, I guess, of this Crystallineum silver blush, because you can see that there's a ton of veins on it. Super silver. The Doriakis, though, I feel like that I've seen are like super round, and this looks a little bit more elongated, so I'm not really sure if it's truly a Doriaki, but I'm gonna call it that because I want it to be that. But it also has a new little leaf coming in. I'm so excited. Hopefully that will be even bigger than this one. Okay, so I think this is number 10, is my Politiflorum. So this is the newest leaf, and it's still not hardened off yet, so I'm gonna try not to pet it too much. But I got this one on Facebook Marketplace as well. And it was a little rehabby, I guess. So this is what an inflorescence looks like. I forgot that this one had an inflorescence on it. Actually it has two. This one's all dried up, so I can just pull that off. But it has another one coming in, so it just looks like a little finger, but then it will become sticky and then have pollen on it. Anyway, I just love this. It's just so easy. Like, I feel like I can let it dry out more frequently than my other anthuriums. And it just continuously will put out longer and longer strappy leaves. I've always grown it in high humidity. That doesn't mean that it can't be grown in normal humidity, but I just love how perfect the leaves turn out when they're in high humidity. I'm selfish. I want everything about this plant to be perfect. I want my plants to look perfect and beautiful, even though that doesn't always happen. But yeah, I think that the ease and then like the beautiful color on these kind of speaks for itself. Number 10, Politiflorum. Okay, so number 11 is another Randy plant. Thank you, Randy. Number 4 for Randy. It's my Magnificum, and this is its newest leaf. Oh my gosh. I would have ranked this probably a little bit higher if this leaf didn't literally just harden off. Oh my goodness, I can't even, it's so dark and the veins are so beautiful. Let's see, look, they come out like bright red, which is kind of a lot of anthuriums come out bright red. This was the leaf before it, so it didn't like size up immensely, but it's a beautiful shape. This plant has been a little bit hard. You can see that like I kind of get spots on it from it letting it dry out too much, or not being, mostly letting it dry out too much, I think. Like, it does not want to dry out at all. Some anthuriums can kind of get away with it, but no, if you want perfect leaves on this guy. So I can't wait for this to get even bigger. I also can't wait for an inflorescence, because all of the like babies I've seen of a mag have been just so beautiful. So very dark, very pretty. He's long petioles though. Like, he's kind of got his own shelf in the greenhouse because he's so long. Next up is this little guy, my Anthurium Forgetty Eye, or my king Anthurium. Ooh, let me see how much I paid for it on the side. Let me just take that off. I bought this plant from Randy, shocking. Shout out to Randy, man. He always got the good plants. I got it for a great deal too. It seems to be like super easy, maybe not super fast. Maybe it has a new leaf coming in. But I just love the ribs on this and how shiny it is. It looks so creepy. It really just looks creepy, like a little alien. But I think that it's just so unique too. Like, I don't know of a lot of plants that look like this. So Beachy Eye, Mr. King. Okay, next is this big beauty. This is my Clara Nervium, beautiful heart-shaped baby. This is the newest leaf, and it is massive. It is bigger than my head. And I think this plant is one of the most stunning anthuriums ever, because it's so dark, it's got the most beautiful veining, and the shape is so beautiful. It's just a little cute little heart. Like it's like the perfect little Valentine's plant. And yeah, I cannot believe it. The leaf got this big, because I thought that the leaves on these stayed relatively small, but this is pretty big. This is pretty big. It's got a new baby leaf coming. Let's see right here. Wonderful. This is another one that grows in my ambient light, humidity, and it does perfectly fine as long as I keep the soil pretty moist. This is also one that puts out like a ton of inflorescence. Yeah. So this one's actually in the receptive. Let's see if I can. Let's get my face out of there. Is it showing? It's in its receptive, or it's entering its receptive phase right now, which means it's sticky. It's ready for pollen to be put onto it. And I actually have one in the freezer that has pollen on it, so I might try to cross it with itself and see if I can get little Crystallineum babies. Really all you do is smear the pollen onto the sticky, and then it will still go to its male phase, I believe, and then it will produce seeds on this thing. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, this guy deserves such a high ranking because of how beautiful, how easy. There's no notes other than I wish it would put out less of these, because they're kind of not pretty to look at necessarily. And I've got this plant kind of out in my living room as like a showy piece, but I don't care. Love her so much. All right, next up, I'm so proud of this plant. This is my Warocqueanum, or my queen Anthurium. I got this from, can you guess it? I got it from Randy. I got it kind of just as a little chonk. A chonk, if you've never heard of that, it's just like a piece of an anthurium stem that it can have roots or maybe not have roots, but usually doesn't have a leaf, but it has growth points on it. And so this one actually had 2 growth points on it, the chonk, I guess I should say, and it wasn't doing anything really. It's kind of rooting, but none of the growth points activated, so I ended up cutting it, and they were all pointing different directions, like so I ended up chopping it, like very carefully chopping the chonk, and then this is the piece that grew a leaf first. This is the first leaf that it put off. It's not quite ready to let it go, and then this little baby, and then the most recent one is this one, so it is sizing up nicely. This Anthurium is the only one that I have completely in moss, because I don't think this girl does not like to dry out at all. 0%. It does not want to be dry ever. And because I live such a busy life, I cannot afford to have a plant that can't be even just a little bit dry. So I am growing her in moss, and it's working for me. I still fertilize the moss and just make sure it's always a little bit moist, and that seems to be working. So it has a new leaf coming. You happy to see me? But yeah, so beautiful. I can't wait for this to get super big, because I have a very similar plant that has already gotten super big leaves, and it's super stunning. Hold please. This is my Warocqueanum Esmeralda. So it's technically a variant of the Warocqueanum, but as you can see, the veining is a little less pronounced. It still grows in that shape. Maybe a little bit pointier, I'd say, like a little bit more narrow down here, where the Warocreum kind of stays fat through here. I don't know, I could be just making stuff up, but this I got from We Are Plant Lovers, an online plant shop, in an imperfect box, which is a box of plants that you don't really pick the plant. You can ask her to put in different types, but mostly it's just plants that have a little cosmetic damage. See, like this leaf and this leaf were all it had, so she considered that imperfect enough that she couldn't sell it, and she wanted to get it off the shelf. So I got this for like a pretty sweet deal, and then it put out this leaf right away. I was so excited, and I cannot believe it jumped up in size to this right away. And this is like one of my most favorite leaves. I look at it all the time. I think it even might be a little bit darker than like the normal Warocreum, like more like the dark form Warocreum color wise, but I've also never seen a dark form per se in person. It looks really dark. So, and it's a lot easier than the Warocreum. And mostly because it can dry out. It can totally dry out and not throw a hissy fit and drop all of its leaves like somebody. So if you want this look, but not the finickiness of Miss Warocreum plain form, normal form, try to find an Esmeralda. I know there's Etsy sellers that sell it. We Are Plant Lovers sells them. They're just so gorgeous. Oh my god. I think it's working on a new leaf here too. I can't wait to see how big it is. Love it. Okay, we're down to my top 3 anthuriums, which is so exciting. It's so hard to choose because I love all of them. I just love all of them. Even the potato radiatum, or the fingers that was growing terribly for me. Like, it's like doing amazing now. I feel like, you know, the main barrier to people getting anthuriums and having them do well for them is just the humidity and the constant watering, because they are a very tropical plant and they do not do well if you're one of those people that lets them dry out for like several days. It's just not what they like. So they will grow and they'll put out new leaves. Might put out new leaves slowly. They might put out, you know, crispy new leaves, but they'll grow. It's just, if you want them to do amazing, you have to stay on top of watering. You have to give them a little extra humidity. Once they get bigger, like more established, like my Crystallineum and my Clara Nervium, I think they do better in a lower humidity. But especially when you get them like small or kind of like sad looking, try your best to give them a little bit extra humidity, whether it's sitting them next to a humidifier if you have them. A pebble tray is better than nothing, but you know, self-watering pots, like, or like hydroponics, I've heard like does really well because it's easier to stay on top of while keeping them wet. But I personally just enjoy growing my plants in soil because I grow all my plants in soil and it's cheaper than buying like a ton of leca or a ton of lechuza pollen. So I have some plants in leca, but not anthuriums, because I figured out how to get them to do well in soil and I'm not changing it now. So anyway, without further ado, top 3. So this is a plant from Randy, and oh my gosh, I just love it. It's another hybrid. I have to look and see. I don't know what order this goes in, but it's like red Crystallineum / mag / pap / ace of spades. So it's like kind of a mutt, if I must say, but look at it. It doesn't look like any of those parents, really. It almost looks mostly like the pap, which is amazing because Papillonimum are like super expensive to get, but I feel like this is super pap luxe. with like the darkness of the mag, and I don't know where the red crystallinum is. It's not here. There's no veining. There's like the leaves come out red, sure, but like that doesn't look like a crystallinum at all. It does not have like, it does not have that veining. Like these don't look anything like each other, and obviously a red crystallinum doesn't necessarily look like this, but oh, come on. Like I said before, I love the darkness. This is super velvety, super matte, but then if you get it a little bit closer to the light, let's see, you can kind of get a little bit of a sheen on it. But this is my favorite like color. And here we go. Oh, my other dark plant that's a little bit more shiny, I do love that one as well because it's so dark, the Luxury Jungle, but the velvetyness of this is so stunning. I could go on and on about the color of this plant, and like you can kind of see like the boulette, is that what I decided on? Like characteristic of the Luxurians is also there a little bit. It kind of makes it look pillowy. Random hybrid for the win. Thank you, Andy. It's time to address the elephant in the room, the girl that's been sitting back there in my tent this whole time and just staring at us. Dun, da, da, da. Anthurium Regale. What a gal. Look how big. Like, if you follow me on Instagram, you have seen I've made many reels with this plant. I can't get enough. Like, this is the epitome of Anthurium right here. I'm sitting on the very edge of this coffee table. But the veining, the dark color, the huge deep sinus with these huge loby ears, I'm just blown away. This sized up significantly from when I bought it, and it didn't lose its first leaf. Let me turn it a little bit, or maybe I can just... This leaf was the leaf that it came with, which, look at the size difference. Like, I bought this on a whim one day when I was super sleep deprived. I did not need to spend the money on it, but oh my god, I wasn't expecting it to do this. Oh my god, on like the first try. It's in a literal 10-inch pot. Like, it's in a huge pot because it needed that much extra soil after this thing came out. It was like tipping over because it was in a 6-inch pot. I upped it straight to a 10-inch, and holy cow, like I could just stare at this all day. Wow. Like I said, this is known for being like a tougher plant. Like, it will usually just hold on to one leaf, especially if you're growing it in like ambient humidity. But it didn't, like I said, it didn't lose this other leaf. If the other leaf like could go, I could chop it. I don't really care. But just like, I'm so proud of this. What did I even do to deserve this? This is insane. I cannot wait for this to put on inflorescence and make babies. Can't wait to make your babies. Oh, is that weird? But yeah, just look at it. Just look at it for a moment. I'm sure you've been looking at it. If you're looking at your phone or something, if you're not watching me, look at it. Look at this. Look at this thing. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Okay. Last and certainly not least, my most favorite Anthurium in my collection is this girl. This is my Anthurium Michelle by Doc Block. I think it just speaks for itself. This is the darkest Anthurium I had ever seen. Of course, it's by Doc Block, he has the most magnificent dark red crystallinum hybrids. I'm pretty sure that's what this is. It's a red crystallinum hybrid that he's named Michelle. And like, you can see that it's a red crystallinum hybrid or of some nature because of this pink at the top of the sinus. The red crystallinums will keep that pink, and the back veining is also pink and the stems are pink. But the silver against that like almost black color is so amazing. And there's a baby leaf coming in, and they definitely come in like super dark pink. I'm hoping this gets really big. It kind of grows a little bit. wide. I wonder if it's because it was in a super high light cabinet and now it's in a little bit lower light, so maybe it'll kind of stand up a little bit. But oh my god, I look at this plant every single day. Same with my regale. But my most expensive plant, I again bought this on a whim at my nursery. Both my top two plants came up from my favorite nursery, Mole Halls, when they did one of their like rare plant drops, and you know, they take a lot of my money and I just allow it because I don't have any other source of happiness in my life. I love my partner, I love my dogs, and then I love my plants, and that's what gets me through the hellscape that is medicine, is looking at beautiful things like this every day of my life. So that is the end of my Anthurium tour. In general, so I have most of my anthuriums either in this cabinet or in a little, it's like a knockoff IKEA greenhouse cabinet. So my smaller anthuriums, like anything smaller than this is just sized up to big enough that I put it in the tent behind me. But anything bigger than this is in my little cabinet, and everything smaller than this is in my little cabinet, and everything bigger than this is in the tent behind me. Or my Crystallineum and my Clara Nervium are, like I said, out in my living room, kind of in more ambient humidity because they're easier anthuriums. But I definitely have to water these once a week, maybe even twice a week. I should water some of them twice a week if they're, you know, behind me in the tent is super high humidity and the cabinet is super high humidity, so that definitely helps. There's a fan going in this tent behind me. There's not a fan in my cabinet, which is probably not great, but nothing seems to mind. Like nothing's gotten any mold or pests or anything, so just don't have a fan in there. But I also, other than this plant, on most of mine anthuriums, I put moss around the top because as they grow, let's see, hope you saw how much I paid for that. Doesn't mean I'm rich, it means I'm financially irresponsible. Anyway, you can see that, can you even see that? Just kind of see that the aerial roots kind of grow into the moss as it kind of like climbs up. Like inherently, I think most anthuriums are climbers, so then you could put them on a moss pole. But you know, I just put them in taller pots and pack some moss around their roots and they do fine. But it also helps, one, keep some of the moisture in with the moss, and second, tell you when you need to water, because you know, you feel the moss and you're like, oh, that's a little crispy, that probably means it's time to water. Yeah, that one's really crispy. So I don't find anthuriums that difficult, but again, I have the ability to have them in high humidity, so that makes a huge difference. I think that makes them that makes them thrive, in my opinion, in my care. They've also not really had any pests, so that's good. You know, with the velvetyness, some might say they're more prone to spider mites and such, but I've really never had any spider mites on them. So yeah, I think everybody should get more anthuriums because it makes your life feel very jungly and very beautiful. And how can you say no to this? Your wallet can tell you no. My wallet never tells me no because I don't listen to it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Follow me on Instagram to see if this leaf is even bigger than this one, and to see if this baby puts on a new big guy. I also love collecting Hoyas and alocasias and philodendrons and succulents and cacti. So if you are a plant lover, follow me on Instagram, Sid the Plant Doc. And again, thanks for watching. Bye.